Hello, everyone. Welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer, Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. A new episode is out featuring It's Guest Gaming and Big Math over on the Marvel Snap Zone YouTube. But that's not what we're here for today. Lamby has climbed all the way to the number 2 rank with a completely must be seen to be believed Loki Bounce deck. This deck is completely sick. It's also dominating in Conquest with a high 60% win rate in Infinite Conquest. It's not easy to play. I'll do my best to explain how to play it for you. We also have the return of High Evolutionary. High Evolutionary has always been a good matchup against Loki, and Loki's the best deck. This deck has a high 60% win rate in Infinity Conquest and is dominating Gold Conquest as well. We're going to talk about both those decks today. We've got lots for you. Before we get started, please hit that sub button. We bring you 2 brand new decks every single week down the channel, very often Sundays too. Make sure you sub so you don't miss out on that. It's completely free to you and helps support us. In addition, we're doing the biggest giveaway in Marvel Snap every single season. We're giving away 15 season passes this season, 1-5. 3 different ways you can get 5. First, right here on this YouTube, if you sub and comment this video. Any video from Tuesday to this coming Monday, you're entered to win. We've also got on Twitter, check the description for that, and on Marvel Snap Zone, check the description for that. Both different ways that you can win or enter to win one of 5 season passes for a grand total of 15 we're giving away. Hopefully you enter, and good luck in winning. We also believe in deck credits here on Snap Judgments. People put a lot of work into these decks and deserve some love for them. We've got a Lamby series deck. Lamby's the best player in Marvel Snap. You can find him on twitch.tv/LambyShirtsGaming or YouTube at Lamby Series TV. We've got a new intermission thing between the 2 decks. We're going to do the patch news, not the notes. We talked about all the card changes already. We're going to do the news and talk about the big controversy engulfing Snap right now. Then we have the best Evolutionary Infinity. We have our shop talk, and then we are reminding you once more to hit us with that sub and enter our giveaway. I'll also have an article on Marvel Snap Zone up by Friday, so be ready for that too. All right, this is Lamby's Loki by Night, and let me just tell you, this is not what I expected. I thought we were going to end up with a bunch of 1-drops, no Beast still, at Werewolf and Loki, which I guess this sort of is. It's running the exact 2 drops I expected. I guess Beast is my real big surprise, right? Beast and Forge over Kitty and something like Agent 13 are where I ended up more surprised than not with this deck, or maybe even Mirage could have been here. But no, it turns out Forge with the power bump and Beast, because Beast is going to pull Werewolf to him. Beast now, the cards that cost 0 will very likely continue to cost 0 when you Beast, is so much better than he was 2 or 3 days ago before the nerf to Mobius. It's fantastic. You've got 2 completely different game plans with this deck. You've got basically draw cards, Loki play their cards for better than they can. Or you can just win by bouncing. Collector's going to get absolutely huge here. You can use and abuse Elsa with all these bounce cards and move Werewolf all over the place for an absolute ton of power. Either of these game plans works completely well. Forge with Werewolf has been one of my favorite cards. I really, really, really like to Werewolf, then Forge, and then I'm getting the +2 for Werewolf, and I'm being able to forge something else somewhere else. It's been working really well. I've been playing that in several other decks, some Darkhawk decks as well, and it's been working great. All right, you're going to need Snowguard for this deck at this point. It's just Snowguard is a 1 that draws 2, and that has insane value for Loki right now. I think Snowguard is one of the must-buy 4s if you plan to play Loki, although I think Loki might end up nerfed relatively soon. We'll see. Nico can be Kitty Pryde without losing too much. It could also be Nightcrawler if you really need it to be, without losing a massive amount. You need Loki. It's a Loki deck. And the deck is made for Werewolf. If you want to play this deck and you don't have Werewolf, or you don't have Kitty Pryde, check the video from Tuesday. It's like 25 post patch decks, and that video has everything you could possibly need to play a variety of Loki decks that are all really good. This is the one that hit number 2, though. This is the one Lamby's playing right now with all the updated cards and the current batch, so I think it's worth still looking at. We have to warn you before you play this. Lamby says this is the hardest Marvel Snap deck he's ever played. Lamby's the best player. That means it's probably the hardest Marvel Snap deck to play. If you're willing to put in the time and the reps, you can obviously perform with this deck. Didn't rise to number 2 rank overall for nothing, but it's going to take practice, which means, like, this is always true, but this is especially true with this deck, to proving grounds before you do anything that's super important to you. Don't just start with this deck in Infinity or Gold Conquest. Don't just start with this deck trying to climb from 90 to 100. Spend some time learning its ins and outs. You'll note on these lists that you will never, ever, ever see Nico Minoru, even though she's in the deck, because Nico just sort of goes in whenever her effect is right. If you can get a second Loki, the effect is right. If you can get +2 on an important card, the effect is right. If you can push into a location you couldn't otherwise get to, etc., 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 that is what the actual purpose of Nico is in this deck. So when the energy suits it and you have time is when you play. Turn 1, I generally prefer Maria Hill over Snowguard over Forge. I like Maria Hill here, partially because I want Snowguard to give Collector the +2. Forge into Collector, by the way, is the same thing as playing Snowguard after Collector. It's worth remembering. But I want the +2 from Snowguard very often. Also, Maria Hill gives me a 2-drop, and those 2-drops are often really important. I can see a Luke Cage, and with Evolutionary back in the meta, Luke has a lot of value. Maria can hit a Jeff. Maria can hit lots of important cards, the Scarlet Witch, etc. That changes my game plan. That changes the way I'm thinking about the game, and I want that information as soon as possible. Then Snowguard, then Forge. Forge is fine on 1. You don't have to like hold them. You've got 2 bounce cards. Don't stress it. But I generally prefer to get the extra cards out. Turn 2, Collector over Elsa, usually. Collector just gets huge here. Remember, he's getting power not only from Loki, but from Beast and Falcon bouncing cards too. So Collector's power here is like off the charts. One card, again, I wish I had, I'm sort of implying this over and over again, is I wish Luke Cage was in the deck. I think that if Shadow King is going to stay in the meta, that's going to end up being really. Turn 3 is Werewolf or a 1 and Falcon. Feel free to play a 1 and bounce everything back, especially if Elsa's out. You can make that Falcon a 5-power card. If not, Werewolf and a 1 is usually great because all your 1s are on reveals. So you're going to make a 3-5, which means you've got at least 7 power if it's Forge, more than that. Turn 3, which is just fantastic. That's a Maximus without any downside. Turn 4 is Loki. Generally speaking, Loki is semi-busted right now, but you don't have to Loki, right? You can also play a Werewolf and a 1. Totally fine. You play a Werewolf and a 1, you're again getting the same thing, right? With that extra move, or you can play, excuse me, it was a 1 and Falcon, not Werewolf and a 1 for the turn 3. My mistake. Or Beast and a 1, which means you're ideally bouncing back and having a bunch of 0-cost cards. You played enough Marvel Snap, you know how powerful 0-cost cards are, and 0-cost cards are extremely hard to counter right. Turn 5, Loki into 1 is perfectly fine, especially if that 1 is Maria or Snowguard. Forge, I'd usually rather dump for an extra card at this point. You can play Werewolf and dump your hand, Beast and dump your hand, or Shang as needed. Turn 6, same exact concept. You're dumping everything. These are your dump turns. Obviously, you would rather dump turn 6 than turn 5. Try and consider if your opponent is going to play Mobius. It is rare, but not impossible that they play Mobius. You really, 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 really want to hold your 1s for later. If you think they might burn in Killmonger, if they're a destroy deck, for example, you hold them in hand for turn 6. Even if they do Mobius, they still only cost 1. But short of that, you just play the cards out and enjoy your benefits from Elsa. Quick variant look for this deck. Again, this is, in my personal opinion, probably the best deck in Marvel Snap right now. If Lamby played this to second place, we don't actually know what the first place player is playing right now. That is that person is not a content creator, so we're not able to know. I'm not trying to be rude to that person who's obviously extraordinarily skilled at the game. Lamby will probably overtake them relatively soon with this deck. That's just my guess based on how insanely Lamby has been climbing. So my assumption is Lamby ends up the number 1 player on ladder with this deck. It's the best deck in the best player's hands. There's some arguable changes, but it works, so there's no reason to really worry about it. Let's do a quick variant talk. I still hate this Forge. I'm waiting for another Forge. No big deal. This Maria Hill is gorgeous. I love this Nico. This is Noir Maria Hill. Midnight Suns Nico. I think they go great together. And because they have that sort of dark theme going, I went with the darker Spotlight Snowguard. I'm not I like that, but not enough to take out hips. So I've got my 3 hips here. 4 is the goal, but 3 is perfectly fine. Elsa, Collector, and Beast. We've got a very cool. I really like the what are they called? Whatever these are called. That type of variant for Falcon. Steampunk. That's where we are. The steampunk Art Adam Shang-Chi, my favorite Loki, and Cool Jane McKelvey, America Chavez. When I run this America, I always run this Shang. I don't know why, but I feel like they go well together. I have that Shang in gold. It's glorious. Uh, I love this deck. Werewolf by Night, by the way, this variant for Werewolf by Night, I was manifesting into my shop. Stay tuned to see if I ended up getting this variant of Werewolf by Night today. Intermission. Spotlight keys are a good thing. I've seen people complain about spotlight keys and say that they don't work or they're like somehow problematic for the game. For most of us, they're exactly the same thing as spotlight caches. There is fundamentally no difference between spotlight keys and spotlight caches for most of the time. However, they can sell us extra spotlight keys, whereas they weren't going to sell us extra spotlight caches because that's a thing on collection level. They can either do it in cash or various in-game rewards for things like finishing a week of login rewards and stuff, and all that's really cool. I think spotlight keys are just a general good. They're not like amazing, right? Like they're not a huge difference, but they're a general good for Marvel stuff. You also, for every spotlight variant you've ever opened, including and you open the future, you get their avatar as well. Cool. I'll take free extra avatars. I think avatars should generally be bundled with variants, and that makes the game better. It means a less pulling of these avatars that many people don't care about, and many of the ones, even if you like the variant, you don't want that avatar. You get it automatically. It's great. So is that the cosmetic layout is fixed, and I believe we'll be getting more of that going on. I hope we'll be getting more of that going on. But now you can set like favorite card backs, favorite avatars, all that stuff. Awesome. Thank you very much. Makes it easier. I've been ignoring it and just using shadow and purple background on every deck and every avatar. Now I'm using my infinite border shadow, and I'm using whatchamacallit, the golden tape as my card back because I can set it for everything without any extra work. Awesome. Appreciate it. Right now in the shop, this is actually what you should be spending your money on if you're going to spend money on the game. It's still not as good as value as a season pass, but it's better than anything we've ever seen before. Okay, so at the bottom of your shop where it sells you gold, if you buy gold, you get double that gold. We don't know how long this is going to last. They didn't actually say, but if you buy the $100 value for uh 8,000 gold or whatever it is, you now get double that. You get 16,000 gold. And then and then once you do that, if you buy the $50 one, it gets doubled. If you start with the $5, you get $10 worth of gold, et cetera, et cetera. It's always going to double the gold you spent, even as a one-time thing. That is awesome. It's a great way to encourage spending by basically saying buy one, get one free. I love a good BOGO. Um, I did the $100 bundle because I whale out, and now I can get the variants I want. I think that with time, I'm never gonna. I'll just keep buying and I'll be in gold forever. I don't think I'm gonna have to buy much gold ever in this game after this. It's a really, really great. That was a lot of good news. So, um, let's talk about the bad news. We still have no series drops, and we got our January season pass bundle. Sorry, January season pass bundle and spotlight cash and new card spoilers. And it looks like because Howard the Duck is in these that we're not getting series drops even into January, and that's disgusting. I think that's completely terrible. It's one of the worst decisions they can make. They need to honor at least some series drops, or the system is very quickly becoming untenable for anyone but the whaliest of whales. I'm very disappointed in this decision. I'm hoping I'm wrong and that by either December or January, these series drops are back. I fully plan to investigate, to ask those in Marvel Snap's development team who I have access to through the creator program, through emails, what the situation is here. I will report back as soon as I can. I'm going to do everything I can to get some kind of comment for this because I think this is Next, we have a thing that's kind of eh. All right. When the season pass card comes out, when Loki comes out, when Elsa comes out next week, when Ms. Marvel comes out, there's usually not another new card. That's stopping in December and January. In December and January, a new card is coming the same week as the season pass card. That's both good and bad. It depends who you are. 2 new cards in a week is going to shake up the meta far more than one ever could. An extra new card, having more cards as an influx into the game, is generally good. It does, however, make it harder and more expensive to keep up with the game. There is a way to get, at the roughest estimates I've ever seen, um, if they release one Series 4 card a month, right? You should be able to get 3 of 4 cards a month if you buy Season Pass. That's an awesome deal, right? Like, there's no question. Depending on it's a 5-week month, but 3 of 4 cards in a month is a great deal. Sometimes you can get all of them. That's amazing for just the season pass. That changes a little bit and it becomes significantly harder and more luck based with the skip weeks as a regular thing. Sorry, with the skip weeks gone as a regular thing, which is rough. It means like you really have to buy the season pass if you're going to keep up on this game. This game is difficult for free to play players at that point to get new cards. Period. End of story. That's bad for all of us. If it's harder for free to play players to play. But having new cards, like more people buying the season pass is good. Having new cards is good. So ultimately, I think this is a net neutral. It's I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think I'm gonna have to wait to see how it goes before I have a really firm opinion. I don't want to give an opinion that I don't believe in. But I do promise to ask and try and get comments on this as soon as possible. I can maybe get comment on series drops. I'm not going to be able to get comments until December because they refuse. Marvel Snap Second Dinner refuses to discuss anything data mined, and this skip week thing doesn't stop until December. So I'm not going to get an answer till then. But I promise viewers, I will be asking them. I will email them. I will talk to everyone possible to get that answer. Next, this is the big controversy. This would be in a second segment if we were doing a 3-deck day, but I got a wedding to go to in about an hour, so we're going to rush a little bit. The Mobius change. The developer note has created controversy, and it should have. So, we expected it to make an adjustment down the road in order to welcome cost reduction strategies back into the sunlight, and they were using a new card as a tool to create a new play environment temporarily. Those two things are fine inherently, except for two things. One, Mobius cost money. Maybe not money, maybe just a very serious time investment, right? Of either tokens or spotlight caches. But they urged people to buy Mobius, and buying cards in this game is something that a lot of people have trouble doing on a regular basis. So to say we released this and then a month later, we knew almost immediately, because remember, patches are locked in well in advance, that we were nerfing this into oblivion as soon as we made it, is a terrible look. Worse than that, in the same time, they released a big cash bundle. Old bundle? A big bundle, whatever it was, with Mobius on a jet ski in it, and they sold us that with Mobius that they knew they were going to. Completely unacceptable. That's a terrible thing. That makes people less likely to spend money on it. I would be almost okay with it if it were just that like they really realized Mobius was temporary since he was Series 4, you could use tokens for him. And if you could use tokens for him, well, that's not like ideal. At least it's a Series 4 card. It's their lowest price point for a new card. It did shape the meta and go in a ton of decks and was super important for a while. Absolutely fine. But then they decided to sell us the card also as a bundle, and I think that's just straight up shady. Now, it is my belief that they're going to make this right. There's no OTA this week, obviously, because there was a patch. There is an OTA next week. I would bet almost anything that Mobius, if they're fixed to Mobius, can be an OTA, that Mobius is fixed either in the next OTA or in the one that's 2 weeks after that. Can't promise that. I'm not telling you that from any inside information. Hear me say that. But I also, and I did this on the on our Discord channel and in many a private place, I predicted exactly what Mobius's change would be. What I didn't predict was that they were also going to change Wave, because if they made this change with Mobius, but not Wave, we'd have a Wave meta right now, not a Loki meta, and that would be very, very different. They did change Loki also, and now they've made Mobius ultimately what Wave was, but kind of worse. And I believe they're going to change him. I can think of quite a few ways to change his numbers to make him interesting. If he was a 4-8 or a 5-9, I think He'd be really great right now. I think like playing him at that turn 4, turn 5 when you really need that ability. I think 4/8 is where I would go because of Dream Dimension. Would be an absolutely great card that would go in a lot of decks and start shaping the meta again. So I think you could do it in an OTA. Are they going to? I don't know. But it is my belief that coming in the very near future, both Loki and Mobius are getting another nerf. I don't know what Loki's is going to be. I haven't really had time to think it through yet, but I'll come back to you with what I would guess that is. I could also see Mobius going back to an ongoing, but being a 3/3 at the next patch if they don't decide to just. But this is so unacceptable, and the backlash has been so severe, and it should have. That I would be shocked if this didn't change. Now, people are going to go, they always do this with cards that they may ask us to spend money on. This is ridiculous, so on and so forth. Not sure that's true. We talk about this a lot on the podcast, so I'm not going to retread that whole ground. But check the Snapshots podcast. Guest and I go into this an absolute ton. Um, for 6 straight months, from after Zabu to Loki, there were no broken season pass. None. Hitmonkey was very, very good, but absolutely not broken until Kitty broke him, right? So they didn't just forget to make broken season pass cards again, and then like Glenn was like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do that. Let's make broken season pass cards and then nerf them. Not a thing. They nerfed Elsa in the middle of the season. Elsa was predictable. I'm telling you this right now. Knowing Loki was great is very easy to say in hindsight. I see lots of commenters go, how could you not know Loki was great? Guys, a lot of the smartest people I've ever met play this game. Of all of them, 1 out of like 60 or 70 of them thought Loki was going to be great. It was extremely hard to predict, and even in testing, if you didn't test in the right builds, he looked good, very good, but not great, not game breaking. They've released one above rate season pass card, and I don't think that the next season pass card, Ms. Marvel, is going to be completely broken. I think she's going to be great. I think there's a real chance she's the best card of her season, but I don't think she touches the power level of Elsa or Loki. I think you're relatively safe. And while they did nerf basically, they nerfed 3 of September's cards and buffed 1. Alioth is still meta. Loki is still meta. Neither card is killed. Mobius is a mistake. I'm assuming he's going to be fixed. Ravonna got better. And then they had a really good track record before that. Almost everything they released before that was good. So very good, right? Like it was where it landed. The cards like X-23 and Dokken weren't a problem. That was in August, not 6 months ago, not 2 years ago. Man Thing is a perfectly fine card, right? Like they're releasing the high majority of cards are really good. What's really a problem right now is our ability to plan for what we want to do because they're changing so much of the new cards that it's hard for content creators, it's hard for viewers to go, oh, I should be targeting Annihilus. I should be targeting the Blob because they've been changing these cards so much that it's really hard to be able to tell what's going to end up being good and if it's too good, if that's going to stick. That, because Spotlight caches are hard to come by, makes this hard to do. And that's something they need to work on. I promise you that's something they're aware they need to work on. But this is a problem. Let's keep the pressure on. Let's keep talking to them. Let's get it fixed. Let's keep going. Deck 2. This is 67% in Infinity Conquest. It's also like a 66% in Gold Conquest. This deck is sick. We've seen variations on this deck before, but now without Mobius in the meta and without Wave to stop it and without a real strong presence of either Legion or Scarlet Witch, well, this is extraordinarily powerful. What you basically do here is you get magic out, you leech on 5, you skip 6, and then you drop She-Hulk and either Hulk or Infinite for a bajillion power at the end of the game. At the same time, because you're skipping turns, Misty, Sunspot, Cyclops all do really powerful things, and you win the game. What made this so much better is that Magic's Limbo was at extreme risk. It still is at risk from Snowguard, but then they can't Loki, and you just sort of take that trade, right? And they have to do it on turn 5, otherwise that card is going to get leached, and they wasted their time. There's also the benefit from no Mobius, because now your She-Hulk is significantly better. She's going to get her cost reduction. And Shocker is fantastic, because what Shocker means if it hits She-Hulk, Hulk, or Infinite is if you skip turn 5, you can play She-Hulk and Hulk or She-Hulk and Infinite and win the game. This deck is legit. It's also got a really solid Loki matchup. One of the best decks into Loki right now, part of why it's got such a high win percentage. Can struggle into Shuri Red Skull, fair warning. But against almost everything else, this is extremely powerful. And Evolutionary is the only high series card here. So obviously you need it, but if you can scrounge up 6,000 tokens, whether it be through buying bundles, whether it be through saving, you can play this deck. Only high series card is Evolutionary. Be ready. So, turn 1, Sunspotter Misty. Turn 2, still Sunspotter Misty, unless you think they're a destroy deck. And remember, this is for Conquest, so you should know early. At that point, armor becomes a priority. Or if you know that like you're going to be struggling for priority, then you have to worry about Shang, then you also want to get armor. You can also play Shocker at this point if either Hulk, She-Hulk, or Infinite are in that far left spot for Shocker. Turn 3 is basically always Cyclops. You can again play Shocker here if Hulk is in your hand, and somehow there's a new perfect card in your hand, right? In that spot. Turn 4, Magic. Again, if you've got Shocker on a 6 cost, go Cosmore Armor here. You don't even want to play Magic if Shocker hit the right thing and you have the other right cards in hand. Turn 5, Leech. And again, Shocker play means pass. Turn 6, pass, or if you're worried about a counter card for Limbo, they had Loki and you didn't get the Leech out. You can just drop a Hulk there as they're going to play a Snowbird, and you have a lot more power than that with the Hulk. Turn 7, She-Hulk and Infinite, or Hulk. Enjoy your cubes. It's awesome. Play this deck. Snap with this deck when you get Shocker in the right combo. Snap with this deck when you get Magic and Leech. You're not going to be sorry. Okay. Variant talk as we go forward. The best armor and the best Misty. This Misty was beta season beta card that was released that they then sold in a bundle. I like it a lot. We've got another Steampunk, this time Shocker. I love the Steampunk variants. I opened this Magic sometime last season, and I love it very much. We've got Sunspot chilling in a pool. I have this one and the one they gave us as a Twitch drop. I love them both. Underwater Cosmo felt good, and I always like running this with Infinite because it looks like they're like bullhead buddies. We've got our double Hulks. This isn't the Hulk I use, but I like this Hulk a lot. And we've got this She-Hulk that'll be in a bundle next week that guess who's buying me. Sadly, only one hip and not a variant for High Evolutionary. We'll see if we can fix that in today's shop. Spoilers. And finally, we have Jim Lee Cyclops. Love Jim Lee's art, especially from the 90s. I recognize it's not like the most technically proficient thing in the world or like biologically accurate, but it is my youth. Finally, today's shop was a baller. I got the Werewolf by Night I needed. That's the only Werewolf by Night variant I wanted, and it's mine now. I have the Dan Hip Master Mold. You know I'm happy for a hip. You know I'm happy to have a Master Mold variant. It crosses Master Mold off that list. And I also added a variant to High Evolutionary, and it's a hip double perfection. So I got that hip Evolutionary, so that puts 2 hips in that previous deck. I got the hip mold. Perfectly thrilled about that. And I got the Werewolf by Night. I now have 15 cards in all of Marvel Snap that I don't have a variant for. We're almost done. Finally, I did not buy the Scarlet Witch. It's a good one, but I don't like it as much as either of the 2 Scarlet Witches I have. The one on the left is great, right? Like, I really think that it's a great variant. It fits the, like, kind of crazy, chaotic current Scarlet Witch of the MCU and the comics. While if you want the classic superhero Scarlet Witch of earlier Avengers runs, I think the second one fits that mold perfectly well. So either way, I'm perfectly happy with my Scarlet Witch. I don't need to spend 1,200 on another variant for her. And while the Flaviano Darkhawk is very good, uh, I have this 1,200 gold one that I think is the best current Darkhawk variant, where he's just like almost glows. He looks extraordinarily cool. I usually don't love hyper realistic art, but this is an exception. And coming in a couple months, coming in, I want to say January, is a hip Darkhawk, which you know I'm all about. So today was an A freaking plus variant day. Super happy. Thank you so much for watching. You know, I appreciate you. Hit that sub, hit that like, hit that comment, ring that bell. We'll be back for you tomorrow with not only a look at 2 more decks, but also a look at all of January's cards and spotlight caches. Thanks so much for hanging with me.